Welcome back to episode 2 of Day 1 in Football Manager. This is my quick guide on the things that I do when I start a new save on Football Manager 2024. Before I've even clicked the next button, before I move on to the next day, the set of routines I go through just to make sure everything's set up how I want it. Everything from kind of staff, tactics, training, all the little things that I put in place before I click onto the next kind of tab at the top there. This sets me up for the season. Make sure I kind of start the game the best possible way. Like I say, it's just my opinion. People play the game differently. As we go through, I may point out some of the changes that we may implement if we're playing a different style, like a journeyman, or if we're at a big club, medium-sized club, small club. So nothing fits, but it's generally the rules are always the same. Every time I start up, I'll go through this routine, and then we'll carry on. I'll discuss what we as we go through. So when you start up, obviously you get a welcome to the club. You've obviously replaced the previous manager. Get a little bit of background as to what you've taken over. A bit of backroom staff there, technical director, assistant manager. So it's worth looking at them. You may want to change them. As soon as you come in, I tend to leave it, be backroom staff, and see where I'm at. Maybe change them if I'm in like a lower league. I'll keep them where they're at, and then maybe change if I go into like kind of the top division. Try and improve my staff as I go along. But initially, I tend to pick teams that don't have huge transfer budgets, wage budgets, so I tend to try and keep things as they are for a bit and get my bearings, see who I can work with, who's good, who I want to change. But this page here gives you a little bit of background as to the club you've taken over. Sunderland's my club. I'm a Sunderland supporter, so I kind of know a little bit about them anyway, certainly the way they play. And I think if you're a beginner, it's always good to start with a club you recognise. You may have an idea of formations they play, where player roles as well. So when you kind of develop a tactic, you may have something in your mind as to how you want your team to play. So it's always good to have that, especially if you're brand new to the game and you're unsure about tactics. If you have an idea of how your team plays, it's always a good starting point. Like you say, you learn a lot from just doing the easy things, doing the basics. So again, a little bit of a background as to the club you've taken over. Kind of a little bit of a history where they finished kind of last season. Reputation, a little media prediction where the media thinks you'll finish in the league, but us at 7th. Biggest rivals, obviously Newcastle. So just a little bit of background, take information what you can, and we'll move on. So it was a very important page, I think, again, for a beginner. If you're unsure of how your team plays, this normally gives you kind of an idea of kind of formation, what the assistant manager thinks that they should be playing. Not a bad thing to go off. Certainly on this instance, it's like a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, wing player as well, who kind of inside forwards or inverted wingers maybe, or a winger on either wing. Whatever you kind of feel like playing, it's always a good start. And when you see this, what you tend to find is that at least you have the players to kind of create this formation. So then, if you want to have a formation in mind, you don't also have the players to make that formation work. For example, if you kind of come to a team that maybe plays like a narrow diamond, you probably struggle to find kind of wide players if you want to play a kind of a wide player system. So it's good, like you say, for a beginner, ideal place to start. You can kind of jump into the game, load of formation like this, and then away you go. So you tend to find that you have the players that do fit that formation. For example, the assistant manager saying, listen, if you play this formation, you've got Clark out on the left, Roberts on the right, and each player here can perform that role really well wherever they're at. So definitely a good place to start. So for me, on this right-hand side, you have the players that you have on loan. In our case, Mason Burstow. He's the only one we have in on loan at the moment. And the rest of them are players that have gone out to other clubs on loan from Sunderland. So moving on again, the owner will give his kind of objectives. So for us, find players under the age of 23, wants to play a high tempo pressing football. First one's required, second one's just desired, but quite heavily. And obviously the next one's develop players using the club's youth system, which is certainly like a club like Sunderland, something we can do, bring young players in, develop them, sell them off for a profit. Certainly if you don't get Premier League football in the first season, it's kind of a good way to kind of raise funds, raise money, build your squad. If you can bring a player up kind of through the youth system, sell them for 5, 6, 7 million, say, that money can be invested in kind of other players throughout the squad. Maybe kind of slightly better players until you kind of get yourself out of that league, get into the Premier League where the big money is. So objectives is sign young players to develop for a profit, like we just spoke of there. very preferred. Work within the wage budget, kind of goes without saying, you don't want to be losing money. And then what you have is your 5-year plan. So at the end of the season, they just want us to record an EFL Championship top half finish. So that's kind of down to 12th, I believe, around about 12th and above. Be competitive in the FA Cup, be competitive in the EFL Cup, and work towards becoming self-sustainable. So that's generating your own money, kind of like say through player sales, kind of like I said before, developing players, sell them off for a profit, kind of keep that bank balance healthy. So at the end of the next season, like you say, from then on, it's kind of just getting to the playoffs. So again, it's not too much pressure. For a beginner, a perfect club to kind of start with. Some people may say start with your Man Cities or your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids. But you tend to find if you don't win the league or you're just starting out and your tactic isn't great, you lose matches, you probably tend to find you might get the sack. It's just the kind of club where there's no pressure. We just kind of work towards the objectives, top half finish should be achievable. A club like Sunderland, if not in the playoffs the first season. Then from there on in, it's just getting the playoffs, challenge for playoff places. I think very much achievable. So you probably find that you have a bit more flexibility with the owners, so there'll be not too much pressure. Shouldn't find yourself getting sacked, certainly not too early. So it gives you time to kind of get into the game, find out about the club, your players, and develop a tactic. So we say without too much pressure of having to hit the ground running. So from there, we have the supporters, kind of vision and culture. Develop players using the club's youth system, very similar to the chairman's. Play high tempo pressing football, game. Become established in AFL Championship team. Be competitive against Newcastle if we happen to play against them in any of the cups, for example. And forge a higher reputation than Middlesbrough, another rival. So this screen here, you have the option to schedule a press conference and meet the media. I tend not to do that. I'm just not a huge fan of the media, kind of the whole media on Football Manager just kind of annoys me, if I'm being totally honest. If I'm playing like a lower league save, I do sometimes do the media press conferences. I take them through them very quickly. I'm positive, but I don't know if that generates a bit of morale, certainly for like a lower league club, or kind of want to max out on me kind of settings as a manager if I start with no badges and want to be known as a person who meets the media. But, it may help me get another job in the future. One of the questions is you don't talk to the media kind of thing. So if I'm trying to kind of tick all the boxes in that sense, I do sometimes do the media. But generally, for a club like this, that's the time or the patience, to be honest with you. But if you're someone who likes to kind of answer the questions and keep it kind of realistic, if you like, then by all means have that ticked. Arranging into a squad friendly to assess the squad when possible. Well, I know Sunderland squad, so I'm quite familiar with them. If you didn't, or I go into a club I wasn't unsure of, maybe a different country, lower league, certainly definitely worthwhile having this picked on. Yes, get you a chance to assess your squad, try out your tactic that you've created, see if there are any little tweaks you can make, things that glaringly obvious that you may have missed. So certainly worth doing. I won't do it in this case, but I would do if I was going to a club I didn't know. Arrange a meeting with the backroom staff. Default every week. I tend to change that every month. Getting these every week, it gets a little bit annoying. You don't really get that much information, to be honest with you, each week. Each month's fine for me. It's certainly something I'd recommend. So we confirm. Yeah, I will save off the bat. So we save our screen here, our kind of inbox, so I'll be full with a few items. Before I hit the next kind of button or even look through any of these, I think it's this where I start going through my little routine, but I like to kind of put in prep for the season ahead. And the first thing I always start with, first of all, and my first little tip as well, is go to the squad, have a good look around, see what players are on what wages, see what positions I've got players in. Am I lacking anywhere? Just straight off the kind of first look, is there anything that's glaringly obvious? Am I missing kind of maybe certain positions? If I have a tactic in mind, I'll first of all have a little look, see when kind of contracts are expiring. Is there anyone I should be looking at to maybe make sure I can keep on a good contract? So you tend to find if you kind of pass it straight into the save, start kind of ticking through the days, suddenly you may get an inbox saying there's one or two players who contracts are expiring next year, and maybe kind of looking to explore the options. So straight away you may have lost one or two good players. Certainly the players of a good age who maybe is good mentors. You certainly don't want to kind of lose that ability to mentor good players. Just the fact that you didn't take time to see when the contracts are expiring, you may just miss a little trick there. So a few other things, kind of contract expiry. I tend to have a look and see what players have kind of got in terms of quality, so accountability, who are the best players in my team, what kind of ages are they as well, how old's my squad. This is a very young squad, Sunderland squad. Not many players over the age of 25, let alone kind of around the 30 mark. So team certainly with plenty of potential. If you're looking down there, so that's the kind of things I look at. Which player should I look to give game time to develop, where they're at now, where could they get to, and it certainly is a team packed full of potential, all the way down to kind of 4 stars, 3.5 down to here. Certainly a squad with some really, really good potential. This is a perfect league to start in as well, Championship, to give them game time. So, like I say, I must obviously give a mention to kind of work the space. I'm sure for those of you who played FM long enough, you'd be more than familiar with this guy's kind of work. And it's the kind of squad we will use it for a couple of years now. I mean, why try and reinvent the wheel when you've got something that's good? Not only do I think you find this on Steam. So you go type in work the space, squad view, find that on Steam, download it, it'll go straight to the correct folder, I believe. Then all you do is you kind of come onto here, click on your custom, obviously you import it, and then obviously that'll always be there. Like I say, I've used this for I think a couple of years now, and it's fantastic. Does exactly what I needed to do, so why mess around myself? But see, you get everything. You can probably find yourself coming back to this page a lot throughout the season, checking on contracts, checking on form, checking on morale, who's happy, who's wanted as well. It is a page that gets really well used. So kind of back to my first kind of tip, make sure you have this set up. And like you see, you can just filter everything by things like position. Have a good look at your squad, see where you may be lacking. So the next thing I tend to do is staff. So I'll come to this screen, have a good look at my staff, see what I may be missing. In this case, I've got 2 coaches I can kind of put in, a head performance analyst, another performance analyst, 3 scouts, the technical director, the director of football, and then like I say, another physio, another sports scientist. So straight away, I'll try and kind of recruit these. More recently, I used to kind of go to staff search and have a look through myself, but I tend to go for a little bit more realism, and I'll put a kind of an advert out for a coach. Quite simply, click that, and then about a week or 2, I'll get a list through saying what coaches are available. The game, you do the same for the medical staff. One for physio, and we'll do one for sports scientist. Very important to get these filled up. Certainly your kind of medical team, really good physios, really good sports scientists. You should get less injuries, and those that do get injured should be out for hopefully less amount of time. Really good, keeps everyone fit, keeps everyone training harder, people develop better, and then obviously everything's better. Improves your team, improves your squad, improves your chance of promotion or avoid relegation. Same with the director of football. I tend to use him, as well, I'll speak about him a little bit, to hire staff for myself. So I'll use him to kind of bring in under 23 staff, under 18 staff. I find that they do a really good job. You can find a good director of football. It absolutely works out perfectly. In this case, the technical director, we have Christian Speakman. Now, this guy in previous FMs used to be a fantastic head of youth development. As you can see, 19 working with the youngsters, 16 player ability, 17 potential. If his contract runs out, I may see if I can get him to sign on a contract as a head of youth development again. I think he'd be fantastic in that role. Technical director, again, not so great. I may actually try and get him as the director of football, actually, because then he is more of a vision player ability. And then I'll try and find him maybe a better technical director that can bring in good stuff. I'll explain that in a bit anyway, but as we go through. So yeah, that's kind of the first thing I look at. Get these filled up. Maybe even ask for more, so you can get a few more coaches. You can have enough coaches and scouts, and certainly get your medical team up to full strength as well. So what I'll do is I'll pop into the staff's responsibilities. Maybe have a list of kind of things I'll kind of tend to go through. So start with the media, easiest first. I delegate everything. I just haven't got the time. The only time this does change, I may take control of new player signings. So it gives them a bit of a morale boost, keeps them happy when you bring them to the club. So I may kind of take over that one. Lower leagues, like XCS, I do the whole lot to get that morale up. But more often than not, I just haven't got the time or the patience, to be perfectly honest. So moving on to training, I take control of all training, under 21s and under 18s. Make sure you click these boxes so you receive kind of reports for everything. So you just get a report on how people are training. Obviously, you have like the top 3 best training, the best players who trained that kind of for that week, and obviously the worst as well. So you can praise or criticise where necessary. So I'll click confirm on that, and straight away you'll see under 21s pop up and your under 18s. Click on the development centre, and that just gives you a little overall view of maybe who's kind of on the fringes of first team squad, who can maybe look to bring up. So under a few of these players, Mason Burstow, 2.5 star, maybe worth a call up, bring up the first team squad. And that's what I look for. Maybe around about 2.5, 2 stars. Maybe let's have a quick look and see who they do a job in the first team. Like say, I've got Chris Rigg here. Good kind of young talent there. May kind of look to bring him in. Still very young, so I might keep him in the under 18 squad. May end there for potential. Next year, perfect opportunity to bring them up. Certainly, kind of a competition like the Championship. Give them a bit of game time, maybe in the FA Cup against lower teams, the EFL Cup. But yeah, and like I say, get some kind of information about how good they could be from your kind of backroom staff, how they're developing, things like that. Yep. So scouting, take control of my own scouting. Let the kind of tell my scouts where to go, different parts of the world, who I want to scout, kind of young talent, etc. And I'll touch on that in a second anyway. But yeah, signing scouts, take control, confirm that. Match. Well, I don't want, obviously, down to how I train my players pre-season. I don't want my backroom staff origin friendlies. If it's chuck a friendly on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, completely mess my training schedules up. So I'll take that off, confirm that. And I think transfers and contracts, I tend to kind of oversee all this anyway. I tend not to change that. If I'm playing like a kind of European team, I may delegate like a B team to the kind of backroom stuff. But otherwise, I like full control of the kind of youth teams as well. Like, see, if there's a B team, kind of like more European style, like Spain or Germany, I tend to send that over. Maybe pick the best players out of that kind of B team, if you like, and then let them run it. So, next one, done training. Next one is staff. So, like I was saying earlier, you have a good kind of technical director, and let him kind of source your staff, your under 21s, your under 18s. I tend to find if you have a kind of a good kind of technical director or kind of director of football, they do tend to bring in some really good kind of quality kind of 23 coaches, under 21, sorry, and under 18s. Really max them out. And I tend to just hand that over. I used to kind of do this all myself, but it is time consuming. It does take a lot of time. Like, see, the only time I maybe tend not to hand this over and I do take full control is if I'm managing like a Vanarama kind of National North or something like that, and I want to kind of control the finances a lot more. Sometimes you have a technical director or a director of football who goes out and brings any coach he feels like it, and it really does kind of affect your finances. So have that a little bit more control. I tend to kind of do that. But you see with coaching courses, I let them take control of that. Lower league saves, I absolutely take over that. So again, so I can manage money. I don't want them just kind of going out and spending whatever on X amount of wages and kind of affecting your funds. Because like lower league saves, money is key. You never have money, so what little you do have, you need to kind of protect. But yeah, I'll leave this to Christian Speakman. Again, I'm not the best person for this role. I may have him become the director of football if I can. And I may see if I can find a better technical director. Kind of change his roles around a bit. He's more of a kind of a player finder than he is a staff finder, basically. So not much to change on there. And that's kind of all done in that sense. So moving on, training. Now I have done a video about training schedules. If you want to check that out, it's on my channel there. I may try and put a link in the description. But all I do at this stage of the season, I've already started this week, so I'll let this one run. I tend to give them kind of a more chilled out first week. Anyway, if you look at my training schedules. So all I do from here, go to my schedules, custom, import. And these are all my saved schedules here. Let's go through each one load them, and save them. So these are all already pre kind of saved into my schedule list. And all I do from there for the first team, the under 21s and the under 18s, is just plot my training schedules. I tend to leave the first team as week by week or fortnight by fortnight, but all I do is custom schedules pre-season. And obviously, all them are properly under the full list. And I'll just go down. So for this example, pre-season, put all that in. Job's done. Same the under 21s. Now, with these ones, you can literally put them in for the whole year. So I'll go to the calendar. I'll have my under 23s in my schedule, my training schedule, and I'll just fill that for the whole year and it's done. Same with the under 18s. Do the whole year. You don't have to worry about it. Saves a lot of time. Saves you having to do it and forgetting, every fortnight when you get the inbox item. And yeah, that's kind of the training setup. So all my training schedule is done, plotted, loaded in, ready to go. Another thing I do on the training side is I go to the rest tab. You can see here, set the normal intensity when the players are fully fit. All I do is I change that to double intensity. So when my players are fully fit, I want them working as hard as they possibly can. Helps development, certainly kind of youth development as well. Certainly if you've got them kind of doing kind of a lot of physical stuff as well, builds them up physically. I'll do that with each one. Game for the first team, double intensity, done. Another thing, sticking with kind of the training side, is mentoring. What I'll do is I'll kind of have a look at my dynamics, see who kind of the hierarchy is. If I've got some kind of older heads in the squad who can maybe coach or mentor the younger players, or the players that are kind of on the fringes of the hierarchy or kind of social groups. See what I've got there. Sunderland, not a great kind of example. Luke 19 with a resolute personality, maybe someone you could certainly use. Really good personality to have. Should be a good personality to mentor as well. So may have dropped a few players in there, certainly kind of defensive players. I know it doesn't matter about position, or maybe if a player has like a kind of low determination, I may try and put him with him, see how that works out. But see, nothing to stop you when if you're new to the game. Have a little look, see who your best personality players are, possible mentors. Try and sort them out into groups and assign certain players to them. Really does help development, brings players on. Another thing you can also do, which I've done in the past, is look for free transfers, look for players who are you maybe wouldn't necessarily play in the first team squad, but they have great personalities, could be great mentors. Bring them in, and get them to kind of coach your kind of young players. So going back to training, another thing I like to do, or I'd certainly do straight away, as I go through the individual training. So in this one, I'll go through each player and I will assign them a position. Very important. Don't just leave your players with a general goalkeeper playing position, for example, or a generic central defender. We want to develop as well. Make something specific. So whether it be a ball playing defender or a central defender on defend, give them something, give them a specific role, and they will train each attribute and focus really well on it. Pre-season, I don't add additional focuses. I don't do any traits, purely because they are training really hard in pre-season anyway. You'll see me kind of training video, but I'll come back to this at the start of the season, start adding these additional focuses in. But yeah, at this moment in time, nothing. Really focus, and I'll do this in the 21s and the 18s. Give each player find role. So sticking with training again, looking at the units this time. What I tend to do is I'll take all my kind of wing backs and left backs and I'll move them over into the attacking units. So all this does is when you're training schedules, if you're doing any kind of like specific attacking unit training or defensive unit training, they split off into the groups. And because I let the player kind of be wing backs to be attacking generally, what I tend to do is I'll move them over so they benefit from the attacking side and the attacking attributes that kind of focuses on. May mix it up halfway through the season, bring them back over, want to learn a few more defensively minded attributes, but because I like the wing backs to attack or get forward and kind of play that kind of attack minded role, that's what I tend to do, drag them over into here. There's a few options where you can kind of add players from your reserve to train with your main team. May not be a bad idea. I think if you can drag them over and maybe you want someone to mentor, they'll train with them. You can maybe assign them a mentor as well, but I tend not to bother really. I tend to be able to bring up the first team and then assign a mentor, etc. But yeah, I say the option's always there. That's just through this button. So you can pick the under 21s, goalkeeping unit, Matthew Young, and he'll just assign himself to to the first team. He's supposed to be a young player with good potential as well, but you see him, not something I tend to use very often. I tend to like them to keep them in their own groups, in their own training kind of areas, so I tend not to focus too much on that. So that kind of pretty much covers training. What I tend to do as well now is I move on to things like scouting. Now, this way I kind of assign my scouts, so I'll probably get rid of all these folks that have been pre-done. Delete all of them. Then what I'll do is I tend to just go through each kind of scout. I may do a kind of video on scouting at some point. Maybe it's quite a broadish range subject. You can probably do another video on. Click on say Simon Cooper. Have a quick look at him. Good adaptability, so I can probably send him anywhere in the world if I wanted. Really, he should be able to adapt fairly well. Not the best player ability judging, or got decent player potential. So, but it doesn't really matter for all kind of purposes here. So I'll click on him, create a focus, any position from the tactic. You know, I'm playing kind of like a 4-1-3-2. I've got a tactic assigned here at the moment, so you just click any. So any kind of position will pick them up. And to be fair, you're probably best off picking that anyway. You may find a left midfielder that could play attacking midfielder just as well. So you don't really want to miss out on any players from the tactics. So yeah, any player there. And what I tend to do is I'll bring that right back to 5-star. That should pick up any kind of youth players, really kind of young, that's just been kind of produced. They haven't really got like a star rating yet. And let's go up to something like 4-star as a minimum potential. So that should get anywhere from like 4-star to 5. Really get the kind of any top talent kind of coming through. And I'll use this for kind of scouting youngsters or things like that, or potential kind of wonder kids, if you like. I'll set the age for 15 to about 22. And then I tend to pick an area. For this case, I might just kind of leave this as it is. I might just call this kind of wonder kids. Keep it on going. Assign me scout. I'll say Stuart Harvey for this one. So you click on that. Stuart Harvey. Confirm. Any analysis to, I'm not really bothered who. Unclick that. Now I'll just click confirm. Then hopefully as we go along through the season, you should see that getting built up and populated. Just scouts go out and find kind of players kind of around that age group and that potential. And that's kind of a good little kind of wonder kid one. If you want a quick one, if you haven't got any staff, you want to kind of look for these kind of good kind of wonder kids. Certainly the second, third seasons onwards, when kind of a lot more kind of coming through, new gens. So like I say, that's my first little tip. And I'll just do that for kind of each scout, maybe send them to different parts of the country. I'll start building up scouts in other countries like Spain, Portugal, Germany, things like that, and start scouting those areas. Pretty much the same kind of focuses. If I'm not the kind of youth, which the team like Sunderland certainly will be. It's all about bringing under 23s in, developing them and selling them. So it's a good little kind of wonder kid factory to get going. Yeah, you can bring them in, hopefully kind of develop them and sell them on for a profit. So that's kind of what I do with the scouting. Kind of next on my list, what I'll probably then do is look to create a tactic. I'll probably do a video on this alone. It's a big subject. Just know that there's kind of maybe 3 ways you can maybe do a tactic. One's what you call a plug and play. You can see if you go on kind of YouTube now, there's hundreds of videos of kind of talented content creators displaying tactics. Kind of top of my head, I think Stinger is a kind of great one to follow. Great way of explaining player roles as well. Certainly a lot of his older videos from kind of a year or 2 back. Absolutely fantastic explain kind of individual kind of from defenders to kind of ball playing defenders to inverted wingers, inside forwards, kind of liberos, and also whatever kind of role you kind of want to learn about. He's kind of obviously a great guy to kind of follow and kind of get that information from. RDF as well. There's another fantastic one for tactics. Really gives you an in-depth kind of description of the tactic itself, the player roles, what players do, kind of PIs for players. So really, I can see some fantastic content out there. I may do one myself, how I kind of go about doing tactics, but they're the guys I kind of looked at and learned a lot from. But so yeah, you have a plug and play. Basically go on YouTube, pick a tactic, find the file, download it, it'll be in your tactics folder, start the game, load that up, and you're good to go. I've found personally that the ones are these plug and plays, I kind of use them. I tend to find that don't really work straight away for me anyway, and I tend to put my own spin on it. But by all means, like say they're there. There's some really good kind of quality kind of ones out there as well. So the next one is kind of Football Manager's already pre-made kind of tactics, if you like. So as you can see here, you can come here, you have a little thumbs up to say which style maybe suits your team, or from your assistant manager maybe. So it's a good little kind of hint, if you like. So my kind of chairman, if you like, want me to play a high pressing, high tempo style. So that says to me straight away gegenpress. So I'll click on that, tell you what the gegenpress is, what it relies on. And then obviously that preset's already preloaded in, already really good for you to go. So your mentality, set to positive, what your team does in possession's already set, in transition, and out of possession. You can see you can load these up, you can tweak these to however you want. You may want to bring certain things back, like tempo, things like in transition. So you can change things up a little bit, if you want to maybe not take shorter kicks, you want to be a bit more direct. So it's still flexible in that sense, but it gives you a good foundation, a good grounding. Next, we're going to choose a formation. The Sunderland team is recommending a 4-2-4 again, based on kind of what players you've got. You click on that, click on confirm, and that will load that tactic up. Like you see, you may want to change a few kind of positions if you haven't got the kind of players that can play in that position, but one or two tweaks here and there, and you pretty much create that tactic. What I like to do is cancel that. I like to kind of create my own. So I'll start from scratch. Click on that. Probably aim for a kind of a 4-2-3-1, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had in mind, how Sunderland play. Click on confirm. And then you can see there, blank template. Like I say, I will do probably a video on a little bit more depth about creating a tactic. Don't really go too much into this, but this is kind of how I'll start. And if I'm with the team I don't really know at all, I'll maybe click on pick without restriction, get my assistant manager to pick the best 11, and there you go. Put the right players in the right positions, give you an idea of who goes where. Then I'll just look through the rest of the squad, maybe tweak and adapt. One thing I do is filter, not a club, get rid of the players that aren't here, whether they're out on loan or likewise. So yeah, if they're not at the club, I'll get rid of them off the screen. Perhaps I've been a bit too messy, cleans it up a bit. And then there you have it. So like I say, I'll probably do a little bit more about tactics and things like that, but for this kind of moment in time, it's maybe a little bit, I spend 30 minutes for an hour, maybe just talking about this alone, so maybe something for another time. And from there, I may have a look at my squad planner, see where I may be lacking in certain areas. Do I need to make any signings? Do I need to focus on maybe, let's say for example, Sunderland, maybe left back position, somewhere where maybe a bit light, right back as well, not much quality there. I'm kind of looking ahead, maybe a striker, which kind of sums Sunderland up at the moment. Say wings, we're looking okay. Defensive midfield, again, maybe somewhere we're quite light, could maybe do a bit more quality. So I spent a bit of time sorting through all these, sorting out the quality. Obviously, you got experienced matrix there. Not much experience in the Sunderland squad. Something you can see we have to develop and work on. But you can see you've got your kind of windows here to have a little look, assess your squad, see where you need to strengthen. And that's pretty much it. Finances, again, I'll take a little look at this, decide where I'm going to go. Later on, there's an option to maybe transfer this wage budget into, this transfer budget into a wage budget. If I'm not for maybe loans or kind of free agents, if you like. So, but I don't really want to spend any money, but I might need that extra wage budget to bring a few players in. Just all it depends who's available. 7 million is not a bad budget to start with in the Championship. Not fantastic either, to be fair. So I've got these options for loans. So it's all about kind of figuring out, having a little plan in your mind. That's how I kind of start every save. I work out a little plan in the first season, what I'm going to do, where do I need to strengthen. And again, that'll come as part of this kind of squad here as well. We'll have a little look, is there anyone here on too much money, anyone I can get rid of? Kind of the things I've started on day one is kind of like, who do I not want at the club? For example, Bradley Dack on £15,000 a week. It's kind of taking a good chunk of wage budget there. You can probably get kind of maybe another kind of two players on the back of his, what he's earning. Like I say, he's a little bit injury prone as well. So that's kind of what I have to spend the first day doing. Who should I offload? Spend a little bit of time kind of looking around the scouting, kind of free transfers, who's available, where do I need to strengthen the areas in my squad. So, like I say, that's pretty much it. And that's kind of how I start every single save. Tactics, training, sort your stuff out, get everything position filled, make sure you're kind of, say, a good position. One thing I will say about training as well, is your coaches. You'll see here that when you first start, there's other things kind of set to heavy. What I tend to do is ask the assistant to even that out. So kind of when you are training, each coach is not under too much pressure. Coaches, Simon. See, you can set this on yourself, but I think as a beginner, kind of maybe it's not say too in depth, but you maybe get bogged down by these little things when get your assistant to kind of assign it as well. Same with your mentoring as well. Get your assistant to sign it if you're not too confident. You don't always get it right. We'll see what happens after a month or two. See who's maybe benefiting, maybe who's not. If they pick up negative traits, maybe take them out and stop that person being a mentor. But overall, this is how I start every single save. I think I've covered everything. I pretty much do. But see if I have helped you or give you any ideas, got something from the video, please drop a like, subscribe if you can. It really does help the channel. And that's bye all from me. Bye for now.